In 1922, archaeologists opened the tomb of a young pharaoh sealed for over 3,000 years. Tutankhamun. Within weeks, several members of the excavation team began dying under mysterious circumstances. A supposed inscription warned that death would come on swift wings to anyone who disturbed the pharaoh's rest. Lord Carnarvon, who funded the dig, died just months later from an infected mosquito bite. The Curse of the Pharaohs was born, and debate over it continues today. A dazzling deep blue diamond, once torn from the eye of a Hindu idol according to legend, has been tied to tragedy for centuries, the Hope Diamond. Nearly every owner who possessed it suffered ruin, madness, or sudden death. French King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette both owned it before being executed in the Revolution. A later owner's family was struck by suicide, murder, and bankruptcy. The diamond now sits behind bulletproof glass at the Smithsonian. Its curse, real or not, remains part of its legend. In the ancient city of Samarkand lies the tomb of the fearsome conqueror Timur, also known as Tamerlane. An inscription on his sarcophagus warned that whoever opened it would unleash a warrior far more terrible than himself. On June 22, 1941, Soviet archaeologists opened the tomb to study the remains. That same day, Nazi Germany launched its invasion of the Soviet Union. Whether coincidence or not, Timur was reburied with full Islamic rites months later, and the tide of the war soon turned. On a quiet street in Long Island stands a house where in 1974, a young man murdered 6 members of his own family in their sleep. The Amityville house. Just over a year later, a new family fled after only 28 days, claiming to have experienced terrifying phenomena. They reported slime oozing from walls, swarms of flies in winter, and a presence that seemed to watch their every move. Skeptics later called much of the story a hoax, but the house's dark reputation has never faded, and it remains one of the most famous cursed homes in America. For centuries, actors have refused to say the name of one particular play out loud inside a theater, fearing disaster. Shakespeare's Macbeth. Tradition holds that the witch's spells in the script are real curses, and saying the name invites accidents, injuries, even death. Historical productions have indeed been plagued by mysterious deaths, fires, and injuries, feeding the superstition for over 400 years. To this day, actors call it simply the Scottish play and perform strange rituals to ward off its supposed curse before every show. In the rugged superstition mountains of Arizona, legend tells of a hidden gold mine that has claimed dozens of lives, the lost Dutchman's mine. A German immigrant supposedly found a fortune in gold there in the 1800s and died without revealing its exact location. Since then, more than 100 treasure hunters have vanished or been found dead in these mountains, some reportedly decapitated under circumstances never explained. Whether it's a genuine curse, the harsh desert terrain, or something else entirely, the mine's location remains unknown to this day. Few American families have been touched by as much sudden tragedy as the Kennedys, a pattern so consistent that many call it a curse. Joseph Kennedy Jr. died in a wartime plane explosion. Two of his brothers, John and Robert, were assassinated years apart. Tragedies continued into later generations. Plane crashes, addiction, and sudden deaths struck the family again and again across decades. No family has more directly shaped American history, and few have paid as steep a price for their prominence. On a grassy hillside in Montana, General George Custer led 250 soldiers into a battle none of them would survive. The Battle of Little Bighorn. Custer had ignored repeated warnings about the size of the Native American force he was about to face. Some Native American accounts describe a warning that Custer would meet death if he broke his promises to the tribes, a promise historians say he had already broken. Today, white marble markers still dot the hillside where each soldier fell, a lasting monument to the disaster. In the 1980s, British tabloids reported a bizarre pattern. After house fires across England, firefighters kept finding the same mass-produced painting of a crying child completely undamaged among the ashes, the crying boy. The painting had hung in thousands of ordinary homes. Newspapers claimed dozens of house fires were linked to homes that displayed this painting, and that the canvas itself somehow always survived the flames. Investigators found a mundane explanation involving the varnish used on the print, but the eerie legend still circulates decades later. A delicate ceramic vase from ancient Rome carries a chilling reputation. The Basano vase, said to bring death to anyone who owns it within a matter of months. Its documented trail of owners stretches back over a century. A prince, a countess, and several later collectors who possessed the vase all died suddenly and violently, according to the accounts passed down with it. The vase eventually vanished from public record decades ago, and its current whereabouts, and whether the curse continues, remain unknown. In a small English village hangs an ordinary-looking oak chair that locals refuse to sit in. Legend says it once belonged to a man named Thomas Busby, hanged in 1702 for murder. Before his execution, Busby is said to have cursed his favorite chair, swearing death to anyone who dared sit in it. Over the following centuries, several people who reportedly sat in the chair died shortly afterward, until the pub finally hung it high on the wall, out of reach forever. Off the coast of Nova Scotia lies a small island where treasure hunters have dug for over 2 centuries, chasing a fortune many believe is cursed. Oak Island's Money Pit. Local legend claims the pit will not give up its secrets until 7 people have died searching for it. 6 deaths have already been documented across generations of searchers, each pulled deeper into flooded shafts and collapsing tunnels. Despite the toll, treasure hunters continue digging to this day, convinced the legendary hoard and the answer to the curse lies just a little further down. Inside a glass case in a Key West museum sits a worn life-size doll dressed in a sailor suit, said to move on its own and cause misfortune to anyone who mocks it. Robert the Doll. It was reportedly given to a young boy in the early 1900s by a servant who practiced folk magic. Visitors who photograph the doll without asking its permission first have mailed in hundreds of letters describing sudden bad luck, broken cameras, and strange accidents afterward. The museum still receives handwritten apology letters addressed directly to Robert, begging for his forgiveness. On the remote coast of Tasmania lie the ruins of a brutal 19th century prison colony where thousands of convicts suffered and died. Port Arthur. Visitors and staff for generations have reported unexplained footsteps, cold spots, and apparitions among the crumbling stone buildings. In 1996, the site was struck by a real tragedy when a gunman killed 35 people there, adding fresh grief to a place already steeped in death. Today, Port Arthur is remembered both as a memorial and as one of the most reportedly haunted locations in the Southern Hemisphere. In a quiet cemetery in Barbados stands a sealed stone vault where between 1812 and 1819, every time it was opened to bury a new family member, the heavy coffins inside were found violently thrown about. The Chase Vault. The vault was sealed with cement each time, yet the chaos kept returning. No sign of flooding, grave robbers, or forced entry was ever found to explain how coffins weighing hundreds of pounds moved inside a sealed stone room. The vault was eventually emptied and abandoned entirely. Its coffins were buried elsewhere, but the mystery of what moved them was never solved, and it remains one of history's strangest unexplained curses.